Tackles.
and solo tackle.
All right, guys, we got Coach here. I'll let him
Okay.
go ahead and get started.
Okay, I'll go ahead and open it up, and then we'll have some questions. First of all, a disappointing loss that our guys went out and they played hard. We certainly need to play smarter and better, need to coach them up better. I think Fresno State's an excellent football team. There was a reason why they were, rated in the top 25. Obviously, the big factor that we've got to control and get our arms wrapped around is our turnovers. It's very difficult to win a game when you turn the ball over 5 times, and we didn't get any. And so those things need to be addressed. Some of it you can credit Fresno State's defense. I thought they played aggressively, well positioned, but certainly we need to take care of the football better, both within the fumbles and then the interceptions. And so that's unacceptable as far as that goes. And it's also, we've got to start getting the ball back and getting more takeaways. And our defensive guys know that. We have an aggressive defense. When we defeated some good teams, and I think if you look at the record, I think you'll see that Northern Illinois is a pretty good football team right now, and Ball State's playing better in both of those games. We had a significant impact in the turnovers. And along with that, Montana State is playing well also. And so, you know what? It's one game. It's a disappointing game. We've got to certainly improve. I think offensively, the proof's in the pudding there. When you don't score any points at all and you really don't threaten, you got to take a hard critical look and say, what are we doing? And so as a coaching staff, including myself, we're evaluating personnel and we're evaluating scheme. I think it's important that we tweak some things. I think it's disruptive at times to change everything, but we are taking a hard look at where we're at because I think we've been deficient there. And so, this week we're going to evaluate the quarterback position, and whoever we feel like at the end of the week gives us the best chance to win is going to be the guy that's going to go out and start the game. But we need to improve at that position. I will put some things in some, context, though. I think many times quarterbacks get too much credit when things go well, and they get too much blame when things don't go right. I also want to put it in this context, too, is that those guys that are out there playing, whether it's Sean or Levi, are working extremely hard. They're doing everything they can to win for the Cowboys. And I understand the passion of our fan base and things like that. But I also recognize that these guys are college students. They're not playing professional football, or they also don't have a $1 million NIL deal. And so I'm going to support them. I want you guys to know that. We certainly need to play better, and those guys recognize that. But there's a whole host of things we need to do better. We need to maintain the line of scrimmage and finish off blocks better. Our receivers need to catch some balls that were certainly catchable, and our backs need to find some good creases. Over on defense, I thought by and large we played fairly well, though. That was a prolific offense. That quarterback has gone into the game completing 70% of his passes. I don't think he was close to that. We were disappointed we didn't come up with some takeaways, but holding them 17 points, I think, is within the goalpost. If you said at the beginning, can you do that and win the game, I would have said, we would have a reasonable chance. That didn't come about, but a lot of times, games come out in different fashions. Sometimes, it means you got to score 50 points. Sometimes it means you got to score 7. The fact were the Cowboys lost. We're disappointed. I also know that we have an opportunity to go 1-0. Transitioning over to the Lobos here, they've had a couple different quarterbacks who've played. Wilson has played quite a bit. They started a freshman last week against Colorado State, Montesi. So who we get, we don't know. There is slight differences within their offense, but not dramatic differences there. Number 22, Dumas, is their leading rusher, but they have several backs who carry the football. They've got the tight end is number 87 is the leading receiver. They've gotten the ball to him, but they play several tight ends, and they have a whole host of wide receivers. Over on defense, this is somewhat of a personal thing for me. Rocky Long and I have enjoyed a deep friendship through many, many years at many different schools. He enjoys a great reputation. Love the fact that he has chosen to stay in college coaching, going back to his alma mater and being the defensive coordinator, which by and large, is what he said he wanted to do the whole time. When we had great games at San Diego State, he goes, I'm going to be honest with you, I enjoy being a defensive coordinator a lot more than being a head coach. And so, that's what he's doing. But he's a great guy. You know what? Danny Gonzalez is an excellent choice to be their head coach. He's a former player there. But what they do on defense is a unique defense. And for us on defense, we establish ourselves as a gap control defense. There are times certainly we penetrate, but their defense is a gap cancellation defense where they have a lot of guys that cause all kinds of disruption. And nobody knows this defense better than Rocky. He's back in the saddle and he's being disruptive. So I'll look forward to shaking his hand before the game. But I do think they've got some excellent players. Reed is a safety who's their leading tackler, and they utilize their safeties getting down in the line of scrimmage. Their Lobo player, Combs, is a second-level guy. He's also an excellent tackler. They do have a defensive end, number 98, Lobo, Noble, who's an excellent guy as well. And so, they're a good team. They're coming in. Like I said, we need to get to 1-0. Our record right now stands at 4-2. There's a lot to play for. But what we cannot do is look down the road. We've got to get some things fixed and fixed in a hurry. I think that we have guys on our football team, I know, that are emotionally invested. Our coaches are emotionally invested. Guys are working hard. We've got to be a little bit smarter with what we ask them to do. And so at this time, I'll open it up to questions.
Ryan, go ahead, start us off.
Craig, when you open up the quarterback competition during a game week, how do you go about splitting up the reps? And is it limited to Sean and Levi, or is it wide open?
No, it's limited to Sean and Levi, and we balance those reps out during the course. Now, Levi has gotten probably maybe 40% of the reps, sometimes a third to 40%, and Sean has garnered the other portion of the reps. That will be split this week as we go through. We'll put them under situations that we think are going to be somewhat game-like situations. However, you can't go out and, scrimmage. You need to make sure we're set and ready to go. We're getting pretty deep into the season. But we take a critical look. But during this whole time, Ryan, we've looked at a lot of things with completion percentage and things like that. There's a lot of decisions that go into making a decision who your starter is or when to insert another player. That's a lot of deep layers there. But I think it's important. I had both of those guys in my office today. I had candid conversations with them. I'm very transparent. Both of them are all team guys. And they both know that we need to play better offense. And we'll name a starter probably right at the game time.
Josh, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, aside from quarterback position on the offense, is there anything else that y'all are taking a hard look at, whether schematically or maybe looking at getting some different guys involved?
Well, I think the biggest thing is we really need to finish off our blocks with the offensive line. We've got an experienced veteran offensive line. With that, though, there needs to be maybe an increased level of detail to when you engage and block a guy and you're blocking the right guy, that you finish that block off. And that many times is the difference between a 3-yard gain and an 8-yard gain. And way too many times during the course of this game, we were in third down and long. And so that group has got to take a hard look at what we're doing. We're also going to look at where we need to place the ball. And we need to emphasize the things that we can do well. And we also need to recognize that this New Mexico defense is a stingy defense. And so we've got to be able to kind of go through and surgically look at what things we can design that emphasizes our best ability to move the ball down the field, score some points, and that's getting the ball in our playmakers' hands. And then, that put into context what New Mexico does to take those things away.
Cody, go ahead.
Craig, I don't know if you're at liberty to talk about this, but you were looking for a DC the year that Rocky Long went to New Mexico. Did you guys ever have a conversation about him possibly coming here?
No, you know what? That happened so doggone fast. I know he was at San Diego, and the next thing I know, I heard he went up to talk to Syracuse with Dino, who's a friend of mine, and then next thing you know, he's down there back in New Mexico. I can tell you this: it would be like this. Rocky and I we have the same passion for defensive football, but it's 180 degrees difference. It'd be like water and oil. I mean, he and we're great friends. I think if you hired us on the same staff, we'd be throwing cussing lines at one another and ruining our friendship. So we're better just keeping where we're at.
Ryan, go ahead.
Craig, on some teams, when you have one side of the ball playing lights out and the other struggling, you can kind of worry about maybe a divided locker room, but it seemed like Garrett Krall put that to rest the other night and said this is the closest team he's ever been a part of, and he's been a part of a lot of them. How would you kind of describe your leadership and just the chemistry you guys have?
Ryan, that's a really insightful question, because as you go through, we've talked about the team unity, and you win as a team, and you lose as a team. I think a lot of those guys, that comes back to some bedrock character. Our players recognize that we're pulling for each other. And, when you start getting fractions of a divided football team, whether it be subgroups, whether the receivers don't think you're not passing the ball well enough, or the defense is mad at the offense, or you're mad at the place kicker, you really get a fractured locker room. And, this league will challenge us with everything we have. It's important. It's imperative that we're unified. It does not surprise me, the feedback you've gotten from Garrett. I think you'd find that if you ask a great number of our players, that's what you'd have. And, at no time did I hear any grumblings or pointing during the course of this game. When we kept turning the ball over, our defensive guys ran out, just picked up their helmets and ran out there and played. But it was the same feeling that we had when we were having a hard time stopping Northern Illinois. Our offensive guys were not, being critical. They were like, we just got to go score another touchdown. And so they've been a really good group to coach. They've been a fun group to coach. I think we have good team chemistry, and I know we do. But it's going to be important that we take a step forward, like I said, to go 1-0 this week. But that togetherness, that's an X factor that is built through many, many months of sharing ideas, working hard, and pulling for one another.
Josh, go ahead.
Secondary had a really strong game on Saturday, and it was another solid performance for Azizi. Coach, what would you say is the biggest involvement you've seen in his game this season?
I think Azizi's really beginning to learn to play the game within the confines of doing your assignments. He's owned his work. He's been a true, he's graduated already. He's not a professional athlete, but he's preparing like a professional athlete. He studies a lot of tape. He's really understood, some of the errors that he made last year as far as, with some interferences. And we had some glimpses this year, but he's corrected those things. Our secondary has really been solid. They've been, played where they're supposed to be. And both our corners, CJ and ZZ, I think, are playing at a really high level.
Cody, go ahead.
Craig, I don't think we've seen Trey Smith here in a few weeks. Is he injured, or is everything good with him?
He's played a little bit. He hasn't played as much as maybe we thought. We've kind of settled in a rotation between X and Titus, but Trey's in the mix. There's a lot of guys. Dwyann's in there as well. There's a lot of guys that you need on a football team. But we've kind of gone to where, we'll start out a game with X, and then Titus will come in. Those two will play off one another, and then we'll look at certain situations where Trey can help us win.
Tracy, go ahead.
I know the quarterback gets a lot of the attention, but Craig, was the offensive line having trouble stopping their defensive line from getting in? Because even X didn't gain the yards we're used to seeing him gain.
Well, I think you've hit on a point, and I addressed that, that we need to play. We need to leverage the experience that we have with the offensive line, and they need to do more than, quote, just have a draw. We've got to own some people, and right now there were times during the game that we played pretty good, but there were other times that we were inconsistent. And as a result, you picked up on the fact, you start looking at the traditional runs by the tailback. That's got to get better. We'll pick up some rushing yardage by the quarterbacks, either through predetermined quarterback runs or quarterback scrambles. But, we have prided ourselves on being a run-first football team. And to do that, you got to start up front, whether it be the tight ends, the fullbacks, and then specifically the offensive line. So I was talking about, collectively, that goose egg that we threw up there, that's just, the quarterback gets a lot of attention. And that's just the nature of the position. But many people were part of that goose egg, including me. And that comes down to challenging our guys. They've got to step up their game to finish off that last 2%, whether it be blocking the right guy and then continuing to maintain blocking or protecting the quarterback or the receivers blocking downfield or, as I said, throwing and catching the ball. And so a whole grouping of guys own that, and we've got to get better. Now, we're going to get challenged. I'm sure Rocky. He spent 5 years here. He's got a great understanding of Wyoming, and he's going to do his part to come up with a great scheme, and we're going to have to match it and best it.
Thank you.
Ryan, go ahead.
Greg, New Mexico's offense has really been struggling, and I know Terry Wilson was out last game. They played a couple other guys. Just what are you expecting from that side of the ball?
Certainly Wilson is a guy who enjoyed a great national reputation. He had put up some great numbers while he was at Kentucky. He's an older, seasoned veteran guy, graduated. I know he'd done really well in the classroom. And, he did not play last week. I know he had some upper body issues. I have not heard where they're at with him. When they went with Montesi was a freshman, and he's an athletic guy. I don't think their offense changed dramatically, Ryan, but there are little nuances. And so we're going to play who's ever out there. We certainly hope that Wilson is able to come back, in due time when he's healthy, because I think he's an excellent player.
Tracy, go ahead. Good?
Yeah.
We got any more questions, guys?
Any more questions of anybody? Okay, appreciate all the questions and the attentions. Go Pokes, we got a big game. It's homecoming. It'll be in the afternoon. We had a great crowd this last week, and we're in hopes we'll have a better crowd this week. Thank you.
Guys, we got Trayden Welch here. We only got one player today. So Trayden will go, and then we'll start calling you guys. So Josh, go ahead, get us started.
Hey, Trayden, not the performance I guess you guys were looking for out there last week, but, looking at the tape, what are, I guess, some of the areas you see where you guys can improve upon in the passing game?
Yeah, so I think it was not what we wanted on Saturday for sure. And it's that, it's partly taking ownership for that, but it's also understanding that I think we did do some really good things out there. You can't win games with 5 turnovers, obviously. But I just think in the passing game, after watching the film again that night, I realized that I think sometimes we just need to give opportunities to receivers that are, covered or look covered so we can, go up and make a play with those balls. You know what I'm saying? So I think that in the passing game, we just need to give some guys some opportunities in those situations. So.
Ryan, go ahead.
Trayden, obviously Levi and Sean have been battling for 3 years now, and Coach Bull said they're battling this week to see who starts. How would you describe their similarities and differences in terms of what you do and getting the ball from them?
Yeah, I think they are very, very similar in so many different ways as far as drive, as far as running the ball, as far as passing the ball. They're both really, really talented quarterbacks. And both of them are really good at reading the field and making plays as far as that goes. But I don't think there's many differences between the two. My dad even had asked me, is there a difference between the two in the huddle or whatever? And I said, no. We treat them both the same, and we appreciate them both. And I think they're both really good quarterbacks. So.
Cody, you got a question?
Yeah, Trayton, I guess just, a couple of those balls that were tipped were heading your way. How frustrating is that to just some missed opportunities, basically?
Yeah, it's frustrating for sure, but at the end of the day, it's about, next play, making another opportunity with another play, and so, like I said in the passing game, it was after watching the film again, it's just sometimes maybe giving, receivers an opportunity, even if they look covered, or what, what I'm saying. So I think it's definitely frustrating, but it's another thing where, so what now, what next play? So.
Josh, go ahead.
Creighton tight ends definitely getting more involved in the passing game, this year and especially last week. For you, what's the biggest difference you've noticed from the guys in that position group this season?
I just think overall it's confidence. It's attacking every day with passion. So I think Saturday we all came out ready to play as a position group, and I told our position group after the game like we needed to step up and maybe leak that onto other position groups and stuff. So I just think that as a group that we're ready to make plays when a number is called, like I've said many times. So it's very exciting as a position group.
Trayton, you're pretty much an extension of that offensive line. In the simplest terms, why haven't you guys had more consistency up front this year?
It's tough. It's a tough question, but I just think that as an offensive line and as a front, we're sometimes in the twist games and stuff like that, we just need to lock in and do our job and block the guy in front of us and move him. I think movement is a big key in the front, and so. Every guy doing their job in the movement game, especially just playing on their side of the ball, I think is a big key in that.
Ryan, go ahead.
2020 was such a strange year, and obviously playing New Mexico in Las Vegas was a part of that, and losing a strange game. What do you remember about that night?
Yeah, it was a tough night. I just don't think there was a lot of energy that night. And so I think this game we're going to come and punch them in the mouth, because I think everybody's got to play until they get punched in the mouth. So I think we're going to come in ready to go this game. So and look at the film from last year and for sure fix some things for the game plan. So
We got any more questions, guys? All right, thank you.
thank you guys very much.
All you guys here.
Thanks, Craig. Thank you.